Cajun Shrimp Cocktail Sauce is such a great sauce to use not only for shrimp, but also for pasta salads. My kids love it when I pull this out because they know that there's a good chance that they're getting shrimp that day, which we don't do very often. It's a little more expensive, especially when you have 7 children. I've already prepared my vegetables by quartering 9 3/4 pounds of tomatoes. I actually really love doing the Roma tomatoes just because they're a little bit meatier. I've also diced 2 onions, 1 cup of red peppers, and half of a cup of celery. My next step is to put the tomatoes on the stove. I'll get them to a simmer and simmer them for about 20 minutes, which will get them just soft enough to go into the food mill. Now that the tomatoes are nice and soft, I'll load them into my hopper. This food mill is so great because it separates out the skin and the seeds from the rest. And then I use my husband's honey strainer, and I have it on a bucket, and the strainer catches all of the pulp and the bucket catches all of the juice. So then that really reduces down the amount of cooking downtime you would otherwise have to do, about 3 hours worth usually for me. So you can just take it straight out of the food mill and cook it down, or separate it like I do with the honey strainer. It tends to make a little bit of a mess, so I usually have a towel on the ground and just plan on cleanup at the end. The skin and seeds that come out of it always have a lot more pulp, so I run them through a second time. So now I'll take out the top part of my honey strainer. This one's the coarse strainer, so it has the bigger chunks in it. And I'll dump it into my pan. And everything's really hot, so I have to be careful so that I don't get burned. And then I always make sure that after I do the last one, I pull as much of the pulp off of the sieve here as I possibly can, because there's usually quite a bit that would be wasted otherwise. And then I have all this juice that I can can up as a byproduct. I'll then add to the sauce my 2 onions, 1 cup of red peppers, half a cup of celery, 2 tablespoons of garlic, 1 tablespoon of parsley, 1 tablespoon of sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt, half a teaspoon of chipotle pepper powder, half a teaspoon of marjoram, and 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder. This is American chili powder, so it's not as spicy. I then place this on the stove and simmer it until the vegetables are soft. Now that my sauce is nice and thick, I'll go ahead and put it in my jars. And I want to fill these pint-sized jars up to 1/2 inch of headspace, which is the space from the top of the food to the top of the jar. It really does have such a nice texture and smell to it. I always hope that you guys try these and love them, you know. This is actually a pressure canner recipe, so it's a good thing that we have either 4 or more jars, because that's the minimum that's needed for 1 load in the pressure canner to be safe. I then use a clean damp cloth to wipe the edges. This is just so that if there's any foodstuffs on the edge, that it won't interfere with the seal. Then I'll add my lids and rings until they're fingertip tight. Next, I'll process these in the pressure canner for 25 minutes at 10 pounds of pressure if I'm at sea level. I'm at 1,200 feet, so for me, it'll be at 11 pounds of pressure. To prepare my canner, I need to add 3 quart-sized jars of water to the bottom. And then I'll load up my jars. I'll then place it on the stove until the vent starts to steam. Now that steam has started to come out of the spout, I'll go ahead and set the timer for 10 minutes to allow it to vent. Now that the timer's gone off, I'll put my weight over the vent, and now I'll watch the pressure gauge until it comes up past 11. Now that I'm reading 11 pounds of pressure, I'll go ahead and set my timer. And I have to keep it above 11 for that entire time. If it drops below at any point, then I need to restart my timer after I get it back up above 11. So I tend to aim for keeping it between 11 and 13 and just adjust my temperature accordingly. Now that the timer's gone off, all I do is I turn off the stove and I allow the pressure to come down naturally. I don't mess with the weight, nothing. I wait until the gauge is down at 0 and until my pressure indicator has dropped down all on its own. Now that the gauge reads 0 and my pressure indicator is down, I can remove my weight. I always try to do that first because it's kind of a safety feature where if for some reason there was still some pressure in there, it could release through the valve. And then I unlock my lid and remove it, tipping it away from me so that that steam doesn't get me right in the face. Then I'll allow it to sit for 10 minutes to cool down. I'll then remove my jars, placing them about 1 to 2 inches apart so that they can cool quickly. Then I'll leave them on the counter for about 24 hours, at which point I'll remove the rings and use hot soapy water to clean off the jars. I'll then store them in my pantry, which is cool, dark, and dry, perfect location for canned goods. And I'll use them in the next 1 to 3 years. Just about lunchtime and I'm waiting for a few things to process, so I thought now would be a good time to do some taste testers. And this is my pizza sauce. No, it's not. This is not my pizza sauce. This is my shrimp cocktail sauce, and oh, it's so good. Really good. You've got the celery in there. You've got the onion bits. That little bit of heat to the back. That's the Cajun part. Oh, yeah. No, this is delicious. The only thing that would make it better is shrimp.